Hey guys, I'd like to introduce to you Yabby, this sleepy little boy. He's about 2 weeks old, and unfortunately, as of 9 o'clock tonight, it'll be 2 days since he's become an orphan. Now I'm going to record this video in a classic old school point and shoot, guys. The main reason is I just want to do it all in one take, because it is quite a I think it could make for quite a powerful video, what I'm going to talk about. And the reason I'm making it is it's the sort of video that I wish I had watched before Toon and I ventured into goat farming. I really do believe that. So hopefully you can take something from this video, regardless of whether you're going to get into livestock farming or not, and goats in particular. I think it could be a beneficial watch for you. Now, of course, we have had goats die here on the farm, you know, over the course of a year and a half of us getting into goat farming. You know, kids have been suffocated. That was quite a recent one. Suffocated by their mother. And we've had a snake bite death, also a centipede death. And you know, kids do die from time to time, you know, and unfortunately it's one of those things that is unavoidable in a lot of cases. But where it's different in Yabby's case is this time around, I took the decision to kill his mum. There's no other way to say it. I mean, well, I suppose there is, isn't it? Quite often you hear people say, well, put someone out of their misery, or, you know, do the right thing, they're in pain, ease their passing, all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, you're taking a life. To give you a little bit of background, so his mum was our one and only dairy goat, Samantha, and we'd had her about 7-8 months. And when she came to us, she was producing milk. She wasn't pregnant and she didn't have a kid, but the previous owner had kept her purely for milk. Now we have meat goats here, mixed breed meat goats, and the meat industry don't care, you know, what breed of goat you've got, if you're just selling for per kg for meat. So we took the decision, which of course I regret now, to stop her producing milk. So, well, you just don't take milk off her. And at that point, she went from a full udder with copious amounts of milk to producing next to none over the course of a week or two. And it was at that point we noticed that her udder, she was having some issues there, and it was quite clear that there was 2 big lumps that were forming, which weren't visible at all while she had a full udder. And she went downhill a little bit. And she wasn't a particularly old goat. We put her at about, judging by her teeth, about 3.5 years. So we gave her the shots that previously had been recommended for this sort of thing by our local vet, and put her on a good diet, and you know, made sure she was topped up with vitamins and minerals and iron and all those sorts of things. And she did pull round, and she put the weight on and perked up, so we were like, okay, then we can breed her. But there was still the sort of like old signs of a udder infection. You know, we didn't know whether it was scarring left or whether it would be an issue in the future. So she basically fell in love with Bullseye, and you couldn't separate them, which is the first and only time to date that he's been like that. He normally does his business and leaves them straight away. But they hung out for a romantic week or so. Of course, so she inevitably she fell pregnant, and she put on weight. As far as a pregnancy goes, nothing different to a normal healthy nanny goat that's carrying a kid or two. What was that flume? There's a lot of bugs about. Sorry, guys. Hello, Blackhead. All right, Sky. So as the birth came round, the birth went very well, and she had plenty of milk for young Yabby. Oh, by the way, we called him Yabby because for the first couple of days, every time he tried to stroke him, he went into reverse like a crayfish. So that's how he got his name. But we noticed he was only taking milk from one side, and it was leaving the other side of the udder quite large and inflamed. So we had to step in then, and so I would hold her, and Toon would put Yabby onto the bigger booby and keep that one drained down as much as we could. Unfortunately, the infection came back, so we immediately started the antibiotics. Effectiveness wise, it wasn't great, so once that course was finished, we tried her on something different, but she was going downhill day by day. And when you know your goats quite well, you can see that they're going off the food or going off certain foods, and they'll only have their favourites. Then they'll start taking minerals a bit more. It could be that they'll only have their cassava or their leukina, things like that. So we tried to give her a balance of food, but she was being very, very picky, and in the end we could only really give her her absolute favourite. And then it came to 2 days ago where she wouldn't eat anything at all. And you know, goats have 4 stomachs. So the first stomach, the rumen, you've got to keep it active. If that packs up, then you know, even in a healthy goat, you've got your work cut out to get it going again. And they get bloat in their stomach as well, so it's incredibly painful for them. So on her final morning, all we could get inside her was salt and minerals and electrolyte, nothing else. All right, Bullseye, that's enough, mate. I got enough camera shake already. So it became absolutely clear that she wasn't going to pull through. Now, we do have a vet around here. We didn't call him. We thought, well, the way she was going downhill so quickly, we thought she's just going to pass any time. But as the day wore on, although she was getting weaker, she just kept on hanging on and hanging on. All right, Angel. All right, I'll try and record one-handed. All right, dear. That Ango goat, one of 2 Ango goats. I suppose when you're very close to your livestock or any animal you got, you want to give them every single opportunity you can to pull it through. And we've had a few goats since we've been keeping them that have surprised us, and we thought, not a chance, she's not going to pull through, and yet they have. You know, they've bounced back. But when we say bounce back, quite often they don't bounce back to their former glory, and there's always something that's not quite as it should be with them. So looking back, I think we left it a little bit too long for her. We should have acted a little bit sooner. And what became very, very clear at the time was, as she deteriorated into the evening, her level of pain increased substantially. At that point, I wish we'd called the vet during the day and seen if he could have made it over. He is a very, very busy guy, but he's the only one round here. I mean, the last time, well, we've only had him out once, and we had to wait a couple of days for him. But there you go. But he only does office hours, and I think if we had rang him in the evening, he would have said, "I'll see you tomorrow at best." So we were in the situation with a goat that really needed help to be put out of her misery. Now, of course, it's not like we've been total numpties, guys. Of course we knew that this situation could arise, you know, when you're keeping goats. Of course we knew that. But it's one thing thinking, oh, I might have to kill a goat one day. But when that time comes around, I'm not saying everyone's like this, but we weren't prepared at all. I mean, how did you prepare for anything like that? once you make the decision, right, let's put her out of her misery, let's try and, you know, sort this out. All right, who's doing it then? And you know, your whole life is turned upside down in an instant. So I mean, I was thinking, oh, what do I do? Choke her out, put a bag over her head, hit her with a huge hammer, cut the neck. Toon thought she could break her neck. I mean, it all sounds quite, what are you thinking? But when you've got emotions and adrenaline running through your system, it sends you a bit la-la in the head. But of course, deep down, we both knew, you know, as far as killing a goat goes, it's got to be done with a knife. Toon couldn't do that. So I knew it was coming down to me. Now in Thailand, you shouldn't kill any animal with a knife that you've just sharpened prior to carrying out the deed. So, I mean, doesn't make any difference to me, you know, but it's something to do with bad luck, and I don't know. There's no way I was going to attempt to cut the throat of an animal without sharpening the knife first. So there was the first thing straight away, going against someone else's belief, you know. But I thought, well, it's got to come down to me, so I make that call. So I took myself off from the island, heading back to the house. I got there, I picked up the knife and started sharpening it. And I was just thinking to myself, I just don't know how I'm going to do it. I really do not know how I'm going to do this. And unfortunately, well, fortunately in one sense and unfortunately in another, we had a guest at the time, Fred, who was in our last video. And he's never done this sort of thing before, but he could see the pain that Samantha was in and knew that it had to be sorted out, and he could see the distress it was causing to me and Toon. So he offered me his blade that he bought. He got a toolkit. He got absolutely everything, although he came on his bike. It's quite a small blade, and I think I'll go with our knife in the kitchen. So I got busy sharpening it, and even while I was sharpening it, I was just thinking, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I really don't know how I'm going to do it. And thankfully, Fred was a calming influence, and he just said, look, I know I've never done this before, but you've just got to do it. You don't think about it, just do it. At that point, the knife was more than sharp enough, so I just walked off into the dark. Fred stayed behind because it was obviously something that me and Toon should have been experiencing on our own. And I don't mind admitting, guys, it's the first time that I've prayed properly, and well, it's probably the first time I've prayed properly in my life. Don't get me wrong, I do pray every day for about the last 20 years or so, just like a protection prayer to anyone might be listening to me, and to keep Toon and myself safe. But this was the first time where I've really asked for help, you know, to give me strength and conviction into what I was just about to carry out. But I was shaking walking back from the house onto the island, at which point Toon had just shut down into total silence, and I'm not passing judgment on that. It is such a emotional situation, you know. You would like to think that you come together as a team to do this sort of thing, but she took herself off. She couldn't be there. So I mean, what ensued, it's, you know, it's horrific to talk about, but if I honestly believe if I tell you that some of the details and the emotions, then even if it helps one person, then it's well worth of me doing this video. So as I got to where she was, she was just laying flat, and you know, goats don't lay flat generally speaking unless they're absolutely knackered and don't want to get up in the morning. So she didn't have enough strength to stand, so I had to raise her head up with the horns, and then cut the neck. The knife, thank God, did its job And the only way I can describe it, guys, is I went into a frenzy. And I just wanted to make 110% sure that I wasn't going to get it wrong. So I was just cutting for all my life's worth. As far as the noise went, hardly anything. I mean, she was so weak anyway. I mean, up to then she had been crying, but a bit of a cry for maybe not even a second. Hardly any life in her, really. It was almost like, and I know she didn't, but it was almost like she knew, that's it, you know, I'm on my way now. I'm not gonna struggle. But that's obviously not what happened. It was her just having no fight left in her. I suppose it took, well, it felt like a bloody eternity, as they say, but I would say a couple of minutes where I just held her, and for most of that time there wasn't any movement. I kept on just looking down, and I mean, for the majority of the time I had my eyes closed. I just could not watch. So yeah, there wasn't much in the way of a struggle at all. The last few moments there was a little bit, but nothing really, you know, nothing major. For me, as well as having my eyes closed, I just cried all the way through. I've probably killed about 10 chickens and probably just as many ducks in my time on the farm, but it's just so different. And I know, you know, goats, they're cute, cuddly, they're friendly. You build such a bond with them, and I know some of you have been saying don't get close to them, don't get close to them. Even if, I truly believe this, even if I hadn't been close to our goats, doing what I did, Jesus, it will change my life forever. I will never ever, I'm not saying I won't get over it, but I will never ever forget that night. Not for as long as I live. Just because you give an animal a number instead of a name doesn't mean that you're not gonna be emotionally attached to that animal. So immediately afterwards, I just put her head back down onto the floor, and I went for a bit of a walk. Just try and get myself together, and it wasn't going well, to be fair. So I just thought I need to sort the body out. And this was the next thing. Toon couldn't clean it, and it's not that she couldn't have emotionally. It's because she'd been on so many antibiotics. Well, 5 days of strong antibiotics, and you can't. Well, I know some people do sell the meat from animals that have been on strong antibiotics, but you know, you're supposed to wait 28 days. So we won't eat it, and we certainly won't sell it to the meat industry. So you know, I didn't want to, but at the end of the day, she had to go into the catfish pond. There's no way I would have been cutting her up and boiling her up just to give to the dogs. I'm sorry, and I know some of you think that's what you should do. But no, I was pretty much shot to pieces, and I thought, no, it still won't go. She won't go to waste, and so she went in there. But Toon couldn't even help me move her. So she's quite a big lass. So although initially it felt terrible dragging her, I just kept on myself, saying to myself, well, she's gone now, and you know, it's and now it is meat for another animal. Luckily for us, Fred goes to bed quite early, normally goes to bed earlier than us, so he made a bit of a sharp exit and dived in his tent, and Toon and I just went in, and you know, it's at that point, all, it doesn't sound very manly, does it? All I wanted was a hug, and just to keep crying for an hour or two, but it wasn't forthcoming, guys. Toon was dealing with things in her way, and so I was left to deal with it in my way. Getting to sleep wasn't impossible, but bloody hell, every time I closed my eyes, every time. Going into the next day, it's just so numb. I thought, right, I need to keep on the move, so I went out with the herd as I am now, and we were down over yonder, over there, having a good walk round, and I was just bloody crying all the time, and everything was coming back. You know, it didn't matter whether I closed my eyes or not. Yeah, you could still see everything, I could still hear everything, and boy, you know, it's so powerful. It is so powerful. And just before I picked up the phone to record this, I said to Tara, I said, I mean, we're talking now. It's not like we're moody with each other. We were just dealing with things differently. I said, do you mind me asking how you feel about things now? And she said, I can't carry on like this. Something's got to change. And she doesn't mean sell all the goats, but it's something that we had talked about 3 months ago. And it was when one of our goats passed, one of our elderly goats. Because there's no doubt about it, keeping your animals till they're quite old, I'm not saying you're asking for trouble, but of course the likelihood increases that this sort of thing could happen. Yeah, I mean, little Heidi there, and even though Annetta is over a year old now, you know, they're fit as fiddles, whereas, you know, you get the older girls, I'm not saying they're a ticking bomb, you know, some of them are incredibly strong for many years, but you're increasing the likelihood of something going wrong, and then having to deal with that. So we'd agreed previously that we were going to start rotating our herd a lot more. Well, not rotating, but changing them out a lot more frequent. So rather than letting them get really old and then come to a point where you think, right, we're not going to breed you anymore, we'll sell you to the meat industry, which I know sounds harsh. We're going to let them pregnant between from 1 to 3 times, and then breed them again, or get them pregnant again, and then sell them as pregnant does. So that should cut down on the likelihood of this sort of thing happening again. Yes, I know it could happen again, but the thing is, now I know I can do it. I dread the day I will have to do it again, but at least I know how could you say it with it? It's just popped in my head, but I know I've got it in my locker, and it's something that I'm willing to do to keep on keeping these fantastic animals. I mean, you look at these girls here. Well, I know they're beautiful, they're cute, they're cuddly, but they're so friendly. Dang, will come up for a stroke any day of the week. You know, as will Angel. You know, the breed that Angel is, I mean, the Ango goats are well known for being incredibly friendly. Yeah, but generally speaking, most of them are. It's only the ones that we haven't had from very young. You get a portion of those that aren't very friendly. You know, but even our vampire goat, Doris, down there, you know, even she's friendly now. So now I'm asking myself, my favourite goat, Brownie, you know, if the time ever came that I needed to do that, you know, Jesus. But I do truly believe this is the sort of thing that you've got to get real about. You know, could I do that to him? I know I could, but I mean, you've got the physical side of things as well to consider. You know, I look at things slightly differently now with livestock farmers that I know a lot of them don't do their own slaughtering now, but you know, for one reason or another, and you know, legislation in certain countries, but to take an animal's life that you've raised from young, you know, from a baby. Wow, that is some doing. That is. Now you could be blessed that you have a local veterinary surgery that offers 24/7 cover. Then you know you will never ever, hopefully, come into this situation head on. But just be aware, you know, if it's a one-man setup, well, they might be on holiday, they might be on another call. You know, it might be that they're not going to get there for 4 hours, and your goat needs dispatching now, you know, ASAP. So what are you going to do then? Oh, it's I think this is probably one of the main things that we need to consider as, you know, livestock farmers. It all seems brilliant, you know. For the first few months that we were doing, we're like, my God, this is fantastic. Should have done it years ago. And I still do think that way. But have we been incredibly lucky up until now? Maybe so. You know, as the numbers have increased, it was inevitable that at some point this was going to happen. So, implementing our new plan of action, that will be hard in itself. You know, letting someone go like Brownie and my little Hoover and those sorts of goats that have been with us right from the start. That will be hard, but it's got to be easier than actually going through what we did with Samantha, you know, if we let them get old. So yeah, you as well, Owenetta. She's got another year with us anyway. So Toon said to me, she said she needs to do this more as a streamlined business, you know, goats in, goats out. And we don't mean buying goats. We've bought some, shall we say, some shabby ones over the since we've started. And you know, when you get used to being around goats and that, you can see the difference in quality in certain goats. So what we mean by that is just, you know, breeding from within. Now we've got a huge stock now. We've got over 70, and you know, the next round of sales will be the hard sell. So we're always going to get rid of some old goats like Geraldine and a couple of others, and Honey, who's in the far distance there. But there's going to be more on the list. You know, we're going to make some tough calls and just keep the cream of the cream, which we've talked about before. But I think now the criteria for goats staying here is it's going to be a lot higher. Just before I go, I'd like to just say another reason why I've recorded this on the phone. Now I know I've been pausing it and that sort of thing, but it is all one take, guys. I thought it would be better it just coming straight from the heart, because recently I did get a comment about 10 days ago on someone's thoughts that thought I didn't care about our goats, and you know, it was a bit of an act. And regardless of whether someone says something that you don't agree with, what could I say here? It's something that I really hope doesn't, that sort of thing isn't shared with anyone else. So I thought, if I do a video like this where I can't chop and change it on the editing, all I'm going to do is upload it straight from the phone and then put a thumbnail on it. At least it's, you know, you can just see it's me just walking around talking what's in my head, which I know a lot of the time is just cotton wool, but on this occasion. It's all exactly the chain of events that occurred, and you know, the effects that it's had on me and Toon, not just as farmers but as human beings. So hopefully you found it a bit of an eye-opener, because it's not all good raising animals, as I'm sure you're all aware of. And yeah, like I said, we thought this day would come round eventually, but nothing, absolutely nothing you can do to prepare yourself. Just knowing that you might have to do it it's totally different, guys. So please bear it in mind before you go out and buy your goats, and enjoy the process. It is fantastic, but with all the good that comes out of raising animals like this, you get the yin and the yang, isn't it, I suppose? Yeah. Come on, Tattoo. Still beautiful, aren't you, eh? Who's last? Thanks for watching, guys. And I know you'll be watching, Fred. Thanks for your support while you're here, mate. It helped a lot.